Hello, my name is Maggie Lopez, and I will be discussing information rights and privacy. So some important topics I will be going over include the Privacy Protection Act of 1980, the Privacy Act of 1974, and the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act of 1998. So here we have the Privacy Protection Act of 1980, and what it does, it protects journalists from being required to turn over to law enforcement any work product and documentary materials, including sources, before it is disseminated to the public. And it really helps journalists during times when they're dealing with controversial stories. Not only that, but it protects the journalist's freedom to publish such information under the First Amendment without government intrusion. And here I just have a picture of a reporter interviewing a person. Now, the slide discusses the Privacy Act of 1974, and it was created in response to concerns about how the creation and use of computerized databases might impact individuals' privacy rights. And it safeguards privacy through creating 4 procedural and substantive rights in personal data. So first, it requires government agencies to show an individual any records kept on him or her. Secondly, it requires agencies to follow certain principles called fair information practices when gathering and handling personal data. Thirdly, it places restrictions on how agencies can share an individual's data with other people and agencies. And finally, it lets individuals sue the government for violating its provisions. And here we have the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act of 1998. And what it pretty much does, it gives parents control over what information websites can collect from their kids. And so it's a really great way to ensure that to ensure parents that their children's information is kept private and away from third parties. Now this slide is ask the question, what type of info do you expect to be protected? And the aspect of computers and computer databases, I decided to focus on the social media aspect, and specifically I picked Facebook. And a lot of people think that even though their profile might be private and the pictures that they post on their pages will only be seen by their friends, little do they know their friends could easily just download that picture and share it to other third parties. So in that way, people's pictures aren't protected at all. Not only that, but their personal information. People have to be really careful when it comes to setting their privacy settings. I know a lot of people like to put their phone number, their email address, and that's a big thing that people expect that type of information to be protected, but in reality it might not be, since privacy settings do change often. So that's one big thing that people should check. Another thing that people expect that their statuses are private, um, which is not the case in a lot of cases. Um, I know I can easily just look at somebody's status on Facebook even though they're not my friend, since their privacy settings are not enabled correctly. Another thing that people can see, even though they're not your friend, are your interest groups, or they can see what things you like just by you clicking on a page and things of that nature. And not only that, but a lot of people can see where you've been, especially if you've been tagged in locations. And now I will be discussing privacy in the workplace, and specifically I decided to focus on, the computer usage and other technology devices that employees are provided with. And a big thing that employees are not really aware of, or maybe some are, is that IT definitely has access to your web browser history, so they can see what websites you are accessing during your work hours. Not only that, but I know HR specifically wants to ensure that their employees are utilizing their technology devices efficiently and that they're work related, because that's the primary reason why employees are provided with iPads or iPods or mobile phones. Along with that, HR does making an effort to enforce policies and procedures in regards to technology usage. And here's an example of a computer usage policy. They can get pretty lengthy, and that just happens to be a big reason because in the past there's been incidents in which employers have to really emphasize how important computer usage is within a workday and how it should only be work related activities when using a computer or any technology tech tech device. And in the red font, I highlighted the main point of this usage policy, and it is expected that employees will use the internet to improve their job knowledge, to access scientific, technical, and other information on topics which have relevance to the company, and to communicate with their peers in other companies. So that kind of just pretty much says the generalization in general for any company. If you're going to use their computer or any tech device that they provide you with, it should be just work related versus using it for personal usage. Another thing that employees are guilty of within the workplace is going on their social media pages during work hours. And a very popular social media channel is Facebook. And here I kind of just have a picture of an employee kind of gossiping about another employee's status. And social media can cause a negative impact within a company, especially when employees are just kind of spreading gossip about another employee. And down below is a link on how to use Facebook at work, but more just like efficiently and on a safe side. So it should be used for networking or should be used to communicate with people, but for positive reasons versus gossiping. And here are some facts that I found in regards to social media and the internet. I found that 56% of people in the United States have an account. So whether it's Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn or Flickr, 56% of people in the U.S. have at least one type of account. 61% of U.S. people surf the web while watching TV. Thirdly, social media has been a great source for establishing a marketing platform. So a lot of companies like to use Facebook and Twitter to promote their new products and to both existing and new customers. And then a very interesting fact that I found, which does make a lot of sense though, is that nowadays when people want to communicate with one another, they pretty much just communicate with each other through social media engagement versus sending out a quick email or sending out instant messaging, which was really big when I was in high school. And here is a chart that I compiled, and from the data that I've collected and for after doing some research, here are some average times that visitors spend on social networking sites per month. And the top social media site obviously was Facebook, and their average time was 405 minutes per month, and the least visited site was Google+. And here I kind of just have a picture of stop wasting time and how it should be used more efficiently. I kind of think, I believe that social media is a great way to keep in touch with people and communicate with people that you might not see on a daily basis, but to a certain extent, it's okay to be on it, but if you're going to be on it over an hour every day, I think you can do something much better with your time than just sitting behind the screen and kind of being nosy and looking at what other people are doing. That's just my opinion, though. And here's my bibliography, and these are just all the sources that I used in order to gather all the data. So yeah, thank you very much, and hopefully you've learned something new. I know this was a learning experience for me. I didn't know that the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act even existed, so it was definitely a learning experience, and just seeing how electronic privacy is such an important issue in today's world, especially because people are using social media on a consistent basis, especially hourly basis, I know in my generation. So yeah, thank you very much.